I had a bet with someone to how do you lose the money the fastest way, and I figure the Moth was the best way to do it.
Hi, I'm Luca from Damic Design. Today I have Burton here, Olympic Gold Medalist in the laser class, who's going to share his insights into how to go faster.
Top professionals were jumping into the Moth when I was kind of starting. That might have been in 2010, 2011. So it was kind of always pretty awesome to watch what they were doing. And then, you know, in the back of my mind, I always wanted to do it because I wanted to race, I guess, the best sailors in the world all in the one class, because I guess we're all doing the Olympic thing, but we're often in different classes. So it's a bit difficult to kind of compare yourself to them. Because obviously if you go and try and sail their boat, they've got a big advantage, and if they come and sail your boat, you've got a big advantage. So it's kind of a bit of a tiebreaker boat that's really fun, and it kind of, I guess, breaks up the monotony, I guess, of laser sailing with continuing to sail, but in like an awesome fun boat that you just want to go every day, unless it's 25 knots and you're just scared shitless. But yeah, so that was the main thing, to compete against the guys that are the best in the world in a kind of boat that everyone has a kind of equal shot at, and it's awesome fun. So I guess since in the World's Regatta, the changes I've made, I had the 2.3 Mach 2 foils in Regatta. I was going reasonably fast, but I've changed to the Swift foils, and a few other big things that I'm changing is dropping the mast stump. I've dropped it 40 mil, but I needed to get my compression struts kinked and put into the hull, like Pete Burling had at the Worlds. But that also kind of leads into potentially being able to chuck a deck sweeper sail like he had as well. But probably, you know, I think the Lennon's looking like the top one at the moment, but also the North. But I haven't got one, but I'll be doing that slowly. But also with the conventional rig, everyone seems to be getting the centre of effort down. So yeah, dropping that 40 mil, and I'll be taking some off the mast in the coming months once I'm back from Europe. So those are the kind of the biggest things, the change in foils and getting the centre of effort down. Yeah, so normally preparing for the laser event, I guess, is, you know, a lot of hours in the boat. You know, generally kind of 2 or 3 months in the preparation for a really big event like the Worlds, but also many hours fitness and things like that. So getting the specific training from the fitness side of the boat, together with the boat handling and all that sort of thing. So, but similarly, you need to take into account the event that you're going to be at. So is it going to be generally light wind or heavy wind, and kind of tailor your training around that a little bit. And then I guess, you know, you need the high intensity volume on the water with, you know, good training partners to make sure that you're, you know, up to speed and not I guess leaving anything behind. But for the Moth stuff, or the stuff that I've done with the Moth, it's generally been kind of by myself, and I'm kind of still stuck a little bit, or I was still stuck a little bit, and I'm sure I will be in the boat handling phase. So not so much on the, I guess, the top end speed or anything like that, but making sure, you know, I can get around the course at a decent speed, and, you know, that's the main focus, I guess, to getting a good result in the Moth compared to, you know, the boat on boat technical aspects that the laser kind of throws at you. The regatta days, I guess, kind of change based on the race time. So sometimes we could be racing at 1, 2 in the afternoon, but other times we could be racing at 10, 11 in the morning. So it really kind of depends on that, and that kind of flows from the day before. So if you're racing really early, you want to get an early night's sleep, and because you've got to be up quite early. So yeah, if you're up kind of early, you want, you know, good meal. You need to kind of prepare, get your drinks and all your food prepared for the day, because it could be a long day. You know, from the laser stuff, we're often racing far out on the courses, and, you know, you could be out there for 8 hours, so you kind of need food and all the stuff to last you the day, but also then help your recovery for the following day. So after the racing's done, or if you're sitting out there, you need stuff that's not going to kind of make the next days harder. But then the same thing, like waking up in the morning and seeing what the weather's going to be like, how windy, is kind of how you're going to tackle that. So if it's going to be really windy, you probably hang at home a bit longer, because when you get down there, it's just going to be rig up and go, and you'll be straight into it. So you can kind of give the body as much rest and relaxation as you can. But if it's kind of lighter, you probably got to get down there, because you're going to tow out to the race course, and you might need some more time to kind of fiddle around with bits and pieces. But going to the Moth side of that, it's probably more like a light wind day in the laser. You probably get down there pretty early, fiddle around with your boat a fair bit, make sure you have a lot of space around yourself to rig up when in your own time, and leave yourself a lot of time if anything goes wrong. So which often for the Moth that happens for me. But yeah, so you just need as much time as you need to make yourself comfortable and not rushed. I think getting rushed or kind of flustered in that way is probably the worst thing that can happen, and that can, if you get flustered like that, that can go with you onto the water when you need to make crucial decisions out actually during the race. That having that state of mind carry with you is probably the worst thing that can happen. Going into a race, I guess the pre-start, you maybe start off with a big long checklist of things that you could potentially do, in the 45 minutes or an hour before the race. But normally the stuff that you probably want to do, you don't have enough time. So you need to kind of prioritise what you want to do, or what the information that you want to get out of that. So, an example from laser stuff could be doing a split tack with another boat to find out if one course is heavily favoured by either more wind or more tide, or kind of less tide going against you or something like that, together with doing straight lining to making sure you're going over the waves as best you can, or you're having your max top speed or your best VMG. So you really need to kind of hone into a few things that you think are going to help you the best on that race course, and kind of focus on those in the time pre. So yeah, an example might be from the Moth in Regatta. You wouldn't want to do a split tack with another boat, because basically you're going to hit the shore and that's going to happen. So you'd want to focus on things like top speed, best VMG, and also being able to do tacks under pressure at a crucial time. Not giving yourself a lot of time to prepare, but just trying to practice doing them, and getting your body into that kind of mode. So doing the checklist is kind of, as much as it is about either warming your body up for the stuff that you're going to have to do sailing, it's kind of warming your mind up for the stuff that's going to be most important in that race that day, and then the next day could all change again, and you've got to pick the different things that'll be in focus that day. The biggest priorities for the laser on the checklist is probably making sure that you're going fast. So straight lining with another boat, warming the body up that way to make sure that off the start line you are going as fast as you possibly can, or as fast as you think that you should be going. Having a game plan, so knowing where you want to go on the course. So that could be a split tack with another boat to find out any biases of the course that way. Doing a line bias check to figure out if the pin end's going to save you 100 metres to sail on the first beat. That's pretty important. Kind of as well, it depends a little bit on the conditions. So heavy winds, it comes down a lot to speed off the line. So you can kind of start anywhere and you're going to be able to hold your line really well. And lighter winds, it comes down to a little bit more. You need a lot of space around you to kind of, instead of getting the best top speed out of yourself, you don't really want people around you slowing you down. So figuring out kind of, we know where the best spot will be because of the line bias, but then having a bit of a plan B where the least riskier, the least risk best spot might be. I think with having a coach or something like that, getting an insight from a second person, or it could be a training buddy, to everything that you think it might be correct, but having a second opinion on to either back that up or to give you another insight into something else that you may have missed. I think often when you see more wind once, it kind of always just lingers in the back of your mind that there's more wind there now, and you kind of shut yourself down a little bit to other options. So having a second person there will really help, but also getting some tide information if there's anything like that. Jumping over to the Moth sort of stuff, it's a little bit different, I guess. You know, it's all about time on distance at the start. More wind is always king unless it's, you know, quite windy, and, you know, shortest course to the mark. So that could be either less tacks, starting on port, something like that, is really crucial. So bias of the line and being on the lifted tack in a Moth is quite important, because you can't just tack like a laser. It's a bit more difficult to, you know, fix a mistake once you've made it. So trying to get rid of all those before the start is pretty crucial. So tacks and jibes for the Moth and starting on the favoured tack would be a big key thing. I think the number one tip in any boat to go faster is to probably think at what you're the worst at relative to your sailing ability, no matter if you're Olympic champion or, you know, club champion or, you know, just a club sailor. Basically, if you kind of had to list everything that you do out on the water, whether upwind, downwind, tacking, jibing, basically whichever one you have the least confidence in, improving that will ultimately make you go faster around the course. You know, thinking about me for Moths, for my training for the Worlds, even though it was quite limited, I spent a lot of the time doing tacking and jibing, because I knew that was the thing that was going to slow me up around the course, and not necessarily looking for, you know, an extra knot of boat speed in a straight line, because you know, if I'm upside down, I'm not going to catch all that back up with just one knot of boat speed. So basically, you know, thinking about what you're the worst at and improving that.